Congress is about to pass the largest legal jailbreak in history. It's called sentencing reform. And what they're trying to do is to change the mandatory minimum sentences that have governed the federal judiciary ever since 1986. This sentencing reform that was originally passed in 86 limited and almost eliminated judicial discretion in imposing sentences and parole and probation. And the result was a dramatic increase in the number of years that federal inmates had to serve for crimes. And the federal law became such an important tool against drug dealers and against other criminals that more and more crimes were federalized, and often state and local officials would turn their cases over to the feds because they could get more jail time under a federal conviction than under a state conviction. And the Fed rules were very clear that you could only get a very limited period of time off your sentence for good behavior. A very important change that substantially reduced the crime rate in the United States. Well, now the pendulum is swung to a point where a lot of people are saying these sentences are too onerous. They involve too many people who just happened to be there when the crime was committed, and they're resulting in significant injustice that judges are handcuffed and not able to correct. And the burden of their critique is ultimately a very accurate one. But the problem is that the reforms that are now passing the House and the Senate, almost unanimously, with bipartisan support, conservatives led by Mike Lee, the normally reliable conservative senator from Utah, are passing muster with the conservatives in both houses. But they shouldn't be. Fundamentally, what they do is they simply reduce the sentences for everything. And, for example, the 3 strikes and you're out provision, that 3 felony convictions, 3 violent felony convictions, mean that you then face a life imprisonment on the 3rd sentence with no chance of parole. That's a terribly important anti-crime measure. Criminals know it, they worry about it, and it curbs a lot of their conduct and prevents a lot of crime. But yet that would be eliminated under this law. And sentences across the board would be reduced. Now, and by the way, they would be reduced retroactively. And a lot of the people now in prison would be able to get free if this bill passes. Now, there's an alternate approach that I think is very important, which is to separate clearly violent crimes from nonviolent crimes. Senator Ted Cruz has been urging this. Cruz says, okay, lower the sentences for nonviolent crimes, drug dealing, use, possession, that stuff, but not for violent crimes, where murder, rape, kidnapping, and the like. And I think that's a very effective difference. He says that you could have 3 nonviolent strikes and not be out, but 3 violent strikes, you need to go to jail for life. Another possibility that I support is taking marijuana out of the category of hard drugs. We shouldn't say all drugs are created equal. We should punish heroin and cocaine and amphetamines and pills strictly, but cut brakes on marijuana. After all, we have 3 states that are legalizing it, and we have a bunch of other states that are allowing it for thinly veiled medical reasons. And it makes no sense that about 12% of the 250,000 inmates in federal prison are there exclusively on marijuana-related offenses. I say let those guys out. That will reduce the prison population, reduce the cost of imprisonment, both of which are laudable goals, but not let dangerous people out onto the street. What concerns me about this bill is there's been almost no discussion about it. It's fairly advanced. It's now about to be voted out of committee and put on the floor. And the conservatives and the Democrats are going along with the sentencing reform that simply lowers the sentences even for very violent crimes. And I think that's a mistake. So look into it, and if you agree with me, get in touch with your senator or representative, particularly if they're Republican, to urge them not to do this. Or if they do it, at least limit it to nonviolent crimes. Thanks for watching.